Welcome to the cityCURRENT show. I'm Andrew Bartolotta. Today we're discussing a body renewed, a spirit reborn, and a home revived with the founder of Annestasis and the Annestacian, Stacey Johnson. Stacey, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, Andrew, it's so great to be with you. It's such a fun day to be able to connect on this radio show with you. So it's great.
I'm so excited to talk more about Annestasis. First, give listeners a quick history for your career and background, which includes health and wellness, painting, and more.
Okay, wonderful. My background is that I have reinvented myself over and over again. So shockingly, all of the different careers, so stockbroker and assistant for an interior designer and a stay-at-home mom, and that culmination of what seemed like a patchwork quilt of careers actually serves me very well right now doing the work that I'm doing, which is wonderful. I do have a background in interior decor. I don't like to say interior design because that's a completely different game and it involves blueprints. No. What I like to focus in on is healthy home living. And so for me as a person and me as a professional, I like for people's houses to work smartly. And that does involve some organization, but it also it involves listening and having a conversation about what fits a family best. You know, people, now that we've been home with, the pandemic, people are really rethinking their spaces. I mean, they're getting creative with closets and where the broom used to be. And, do we really need that kitchen so much? So for me, I'm going into people's homes and as an extension of their getting healthy and creating a new life, they want their surroundings to be healthy as well. So I bring that interior decor in there. I'm also just a holistic coach. So if someone comes to me and wants a healthier body and a healthy diet and a healthy exercise program, we can definitely do that. And I have done that in my personal life. Certainly have done that and I'm glad to do it. But what I find, Andrew, is the conversation is always about more than that. If it were just about the food and the exercise, we'd all be in our prime health. We'd all be there. I mean, because it would be a no-brainer. But the truth is that sometimes it involves lack of self-care. It involves, it involves lack of time, lack of resources. So I'm able to actually even pull from being a financial consultant back in the early 90s into that conversation. I have certainly been a single mom before and know all about that demographic. And that is a tough spot to be in. I really appreciate it. So keeping in mind physical health, financial health, moving into a spiritual place, which I think that's the origin of all of it. Natural transfer from that, or what is a natural process from that place is that you want your surroundings to also be healthy. So my background is art and interior design and financial, and I've been in the business, and now I'm an entrepreneur, and they all play into this life that I'm living today, which is about as good as it gets. I'm very excited about being a 53-year-old. And what I tell people is that I'll start lying about my age when my life starts getting worse. But every year has been better and better. So I'm not there yet.
I love the way that you live your life and help others, and talk about your mission and services at Annestasis, which includes what I love this term. You say how resurrection looks in our daily lives.
As a Christian, that's my religious background. I have always heard about resurrection as what Christ did. We celebrated Easter. It's a one and done. It was amazing. It's a hallelujah. We all get excited about it. And then I've done some introspection. The name Stacey is actually derived from Annestasis, which means to be born again. And as I started to really dive into that, I realized, oh my gosh, that was modeled for us because we have to do it hundreds of times in our lifetime. In order to get from one season to the next, Andrew, we really do have to put behind the things that we were originally holding on to so that we can reach something else. Some examples are, when you're doing the monkey bars where you've got the holds, if you don't let go of this, you can't grab that. I mean, it's as simple as that. But also nature is such a great example of it. And I just kind of take my cues from nature. There is, especially in the Mid-South area, there's a seasonal dying off. My favorite season of all is fall. And that means trees are dying, literally. And they will go into, literally, I'm just watching trees pass away right in front of me, and they'll go into a space in the winter where it looks like they're never going to come back.
Mhm.
And then the spring happens. That's just a perfect example of what we do. So for instance, in my world, 3 young children going through a divorce, very difficult time trying to figure out how to make it all happen. I had two choices. One, I could stay in the bitter space. I could just talk and rehash and discuss until ad nauseum about all the things that went wrong and how right I am. That was option number one. Option number two was I could use it as a growing space. And I turned the mirror back toward myself. And I figured out, what are the things that I need to let go of, or otherwise this situation is going to repeat itself over and over again, over and over again. So there were things that I needed to die to, habits, addictions. I had to lean into health and well-being. I do recovery, which is a big yay, but I had to do some things to be reborn again. And yes, it required me to let some things stay in that rear view mirror in order for me to kind of be a whole person. Professionally, I promise you, it has been that way professionally. The reason Annestasis was born was because of just not able to find that perfect management job that I thought would be laid in my lap when I graduated from college. It just never happened. And I thought, well, I think I'll invent something for myself. I
I
hope
love
that
that.
answers your question.
It does, and I love that you're not afraid to try new things. We talk a lot, and you'll say, I'm speaking this into existence, and like, boom, there you go. And it's cool, and you're not afraid to try new things. And I think with the resurrection of your being and the multitude of different Stacys and your lifespan, you know that there's an opportunity to grow in your space and who you are. And when you were talking about nature, there's archery in our front yard. Every year in the fall and the wintertime, I tell my wife, this is the year it's not coming back. Look, it looks dead. It's not coming back. And by March, she looks at me and she's like, I told you so, it's coming back. And when you think about that in your life and as a Christian as well, just being reborn, it really is just this sense that you have the opportunity to try new things because you're able to, and you're not limited to just one season in your life. So when we talk about nature, you recently held an art reception for your work, Nature Amplified. Talk about that work and your unique process of creating art, which includes inspiration from music as well.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I love art, and I like, I'm always inspired by different things. I've had different shows and they've had a different flavor. This one was really cool, Andrew, because Natalie Montgomery at the Levitt Shell asked me to do a book study for the Levitt Shell. They have a wonderful health and wellness series. Baptist sponsors it. It's a great idea. She said she wanted to do a book study as it pertained to art. And I was thinking, and she'd like it to be about nature. So I quickly did some research and happened upon a book called The Nature Fix. Now, if I'm confessing and being honest, I thought it was going to be just a check mark. I thought it would be fun and I would read this book. But what I found is there's so much scientific evidence about how healing nature literally is. And I mean, in prisons, in schools, they're really, really diving in and researching, looking at the data about how much better we feel when the tree is in our front yard versus when we're in a concrete jungle. That being said, I started taking, knowing that this show was coming up, I started taking pictures of different things that caught my eye, frog, dragonfly that caught my eye in nature. And I wanted to put that in a fun, lively, colorful place with those colors. And I love mixed media and I like a real textured piece of art. So anyway, I allowed it to do that. So, the frog in my collection is bright red because it can be, and that's the beauty of painting. I like to do an impressionistic style of painting. It's fun for me and I enjoy it. And you mentioned music. Most of the time, what I do is, and I didn't even know I was doing it until I became a little bit more aware of what I was doing. I would paint in silence, and I realized there was a song going in a loop in my head. The first one I noticed was a piece that I painted for myself, and I could hear that police song Synchronicity over and over and over in my head. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do that every time, don't I? So I started compiling a list of music. Usually it's got a great beat, and I found a genre that I love. Who has ever heard of acid jazz? I had no idea. It is like a little rap and a little jazz, and it's spot on because it's got to be about the rhythm. So when I create art, it's almost as if I'm a conductor of an orchestra, literally. That brush is doing that to the beat of the music. So it does need some backbeat. It does need some backbeat. And the colors are my muse. But I had a great time capturing that collection. It was just a lot of fun. And so I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Talking about being fulfilled, what puts a smile on your face when you look at the work that you've been able to accomplish with your team at Annestasis?
When I get the text from the person who didn't think they could do it, and they are, and they're living it, and watching that life expand, just being able to be witness to other people and their journeys is so rich and fulfilling for me. Um, we had talked before we went live about the journey of an entrepreneur, and I'll just be very vulnerable there and very transparent and tell you there are days when I don't know if anyone's listening or even needs what our team does at Annestasis or even cares. And then I'll get a comment from someone or a text or a word of encouragement, and I'll think, okay, let's do this again. That brings a smile to my face. And people enjoying my artwork is always a treat. It's always a treat. It's not for everybody. I have a specific style and it's very fun and funky. So even my husband really doesn't understand it, but some people do. But when someone takes that and it changes the way they live their life, that is very fulfilling. And I certainly smile a lot when that happens.
Quickly talk about your team at Annestasis, because I mean, you were talking about the home decor, spiritual reborn, but you also have, Maggie and Jana. Talk about what they do and how sort of their services offered.
We like to consider ourselves at Annestasis as almost a virtual health and wellness salon. I mean, and everybody's got their niche. And I love having the partnership with Jana and Maggie, and we're actually seeking more partners that have a little bit of a niche that can come on board. But specifically, Maggie is an incredible, her art is food, and she's an incredible chef. And I knew that Maggie was leaning in a very healthy food process. I knew she was just because she's a friend of mine. I called her up and said, would you be interested? What do you think? So Maggie brought her expertise, and she creates to-go healthy meals. So it's it's a pickup casserole, it's a this or it's that, but it's also very measured out as far as ingredients are concerned. It's got all the macros in there. And what I love about Maggie is, if that wasn't good enough, and it should be, Maggie's a woman of prayer. So she prays over the food. To her, it's a ministry. She prays for her customers. It's without being too, churchy, it's a big deal for her to be able to nourish people. And that's what she calls her business, nourishing. She wants to nourish people's bodies, but she also wants to, again, dive into that self-care realm where people are taking good care of themselves because they're eating properly. She has been at home before, and she'll tell you when you talk to her, and eating olives and cheese out of the refrigerator, because that's all that was. It was on plan, but it was like she had no self-respect at that point, and she wants to keep people from going to that space. And that's Maggie, and she is light and love and all things yummy about food. So yay, Maggie. Jana Cardona, just a beautiful soul, has decided to pull back and reinvent herself. So she is in the middle of an anastasis right here, right now, formerly owner of two BNI businesses. And she decided to pull back from that on a full-time basis and do the Gallup Strengths Finder evaluation. She's done mine, so I can speak as a happy customer. What she wants to do is to help people stand in their strongest assets. So instead of focusing in on the things you wish were different, I wish I was lighter, healthier, wealthier, better. What Jana wants to do is draw people back to what their God-given strengths are and let them stand in that. So she wants to spotlight them, discuss them, and also teach people how to utilize them in their life professionally, personally, with their family. So Jana is bringing that to the table, and it's lovely. That's what I believe Annestasis is about, is it's about people coming together, bringing their little jewel of expertise to a more holistic process.
They really are special individuals and just so full of passion and purpose in what they do. And speaking of that, you're creating your legacy every day. But what would you want someone to say decades from now about you, Stacey Johnson?
Me, Stacey Johnson, that she persevered, that I kept climbing. That's exactly what I would want someone to say every time that it was time to do it differently. I stood up to it and I did it. And that's what I want to share with people.
Now, where can people go to learn more about you, your work, and Annestasis?
Annestasis, which is spelled a little bit unusually, anestasis.com. So I'll spell it for you. It's ANNESTASIS.com. We'll tell you all the information from art to strengths finding to recommended books. We've got recipes on there. Really is a one-stop shop for a healthier transition, people that are wanting a healthier lifestyle. We tweaked the spelling of Annestasis for domain purposes, of course. Again, but staying with the theme of my name, I am Stacey Ann. This is Annestasis. So that's how we do it. But yeah, anybody that wants to any more information, they can find out, and then they can reach out to us because we'd love to have that conversation.
Stacey, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure, my friend. Good to see you.
Good to see you.